Hey, Gen Mex, you know that I love bringing you stories of different ways people have made it possible to live their life in Mexico, at least part of the time, while still being younger than 65, essentially. So I want to make sure that I share as many ways as possible that people have made it happen so that you can say, oh, that's the one that's going to work for me. So right now I've got Mark and Edna with me, and I was playing pickleball with them, and I was like, hey, what's your story? And I was like, will you guys get on camera and share that with everyone? And they said yes. So you're about to meet Mark and Edna.
Hi, I'm Edna Christensen, and this is my husband, Mark.
Hi.
We live in Mexico part-time.
So these guys are just down the beach from me, and we're going to share their beautiful home here. They live in a condo, great breeze. They're only on the second story, but it really does make a difference to get up that high. But we're going to share all about their home, but let's share first about their businesses up in the United States, which is how they're essentially, that's their income, but they're able to do that down here. So let's hear about what those businesses are first.
So we have two businesses. Our first business that we opened was Massage Envy in the Everett Mall area. And that we opened 17 years ago. And then we thought we were doing really well and we were really smart business people. So we decided to try another franchise, which is called Waxing the City. And we opened that one 9 years ago.
So these guys didn't buy these right before moving to Mexico. So they've had them for a little bit, but let's hear maybe about their journey into Mexico. And then we'll go back to how they're running those businesses. And then we're going to share the house.
So we started coming to Mexico 2012. Some friends invited us down to a timeshare in San Jose del Cabo, and it was something that we just decided that was a way that we wanted to start living our life. And so we kept coming down with our kids a couple times a year, and it kind of stuck with us. So after being down here for 10 years, we decided that, maybe we ought to, check it out. And I saw an ad in a magazine in the middle of Montana, and it advertised a house for sale. So it just piqued our interest in the La Paz area because it was somewhere that we had visited on some tours, but then it became more of a, hey, I like this place. It's not as busy. It's got beautiful water views. You're not right on the open ocean, but you've got the availability of it. So
and the Malecon.
And the Malecon.
Can't forget the Malecon. It's
absolutely.
beautiful.
Love the Malecon. So that's what drew us here into the La Paz area. So yeah, we saw the house in the ad and realized that, at the time we weren't quite ready. We couldn't quite pull the trigger on that. So we just, we kept on coming in and looking around. And Miriam is our real estate agent. She got us to look at some different places besides downtown by the Malecon and brought us out to Centenario.
Yeah. And we found our condo and fell in love. I took one look at the view and was like, done. I know where I want to be. But we also loved San Jose. So we went and spent a week to 10 days down there looking at condos and homes down there. And then what really drove us is we were comparing the floor plans. We were looking at the floor plans, and I noticed that the floor plan in the San Jose apartment was really tight. And I asked Mark, what's the square footage on that one? And he said it was like 810 square feet. And they were only $10,000 difference in price, but the one that we are in now is 2,100 square feet. So the value was quite a bit better up in La Paz. So it was pretty much the deciding factor when we kind of went. Both places checked all the boxes, but this one was such a better value for the square footage.
And I promise you will get to get a tour of all of those 2,100 square feet and even the property around too. But let's get into the business stuff, because if you own a business up in the US and you're thinking I'm about ready to move out but not ready to sell the business yet, let's hear how things work with their businesses.
So with the businesses, we really find that we have to have good management in place. And we do. We've gone through some trials and tribulations. I've had to make a couple of trips back to the States to handle certain situations last minute, but having good staff, good management in place helps the business run smoothly. So then all we have to do is check in, usually on a weekly basis, but we make ourselves available every single day. We do a lot of Zoom meetings, a lot of conference calls. But, at the end of the day, as Edna has described, is that we can close our laptop, and we have the beach, we have the Malecon, we have
quads, kayaks, and we have pickleball. We have things that we really like to enjoy. We hear the millennials talk about work-life balance, and I think that's what we're trying to get to as well, some work-life balance.
Absolutely.
So I just remembered that I am a business owner, but I don't have employees and things like that. So let's get into a little bit more, for those of you who do have businesses, of the businessy side of how this works.
We have good management, as Mark talked about, but we do weekly check-ins, and business business owners with employees, the employees can be very needy, especially in our businesses. So we do make ourselves quite a bit available. I try to schedule things in the mornings so that our afternoons are freed up. But we have weekly check-ins with our managers. And then at the end of the month, we do what we call journey sheets. So we basically share where everybody landed on their monthly numbers. And so that week, for example, I had 12 Zoom meetings because we had a lot of people we had to touch base with. They were short meetings, but 12 of them. It was also a payroll week, and I can do payroll remotely. And I send it into the bookkeeper, and then she processes it, and it's all direct deposit. So that's easy peasy. But we're right now going into tax season. So, that's another challenge when you're afar. But we are going home here pretty soon, so we'll be able to pull our taxes together. Our bookkeeper does everything for the businesses, but we still have to do our personal stuff.
So one of the things these guys mentioned out on the pickleball courts was employees who think the owners are on vacation. So I want them to talk a little bit about kind of the dynamics at work there.
That's probably one of our biggest challenges is, living down here. We're living. We're not vacationing. I'm not in a timeshare resort, all-inclusive, having somebody serve me drinks. Occasionally, we'll make each other our own. But, it's we work. But the difference is at the end of that day, we have all those things that Mexico provides us to go out and do. So we really try to let our employees know that we are working and we are available. It's tough when we come back and we got a nice tan. They think we've been laying out in the sun, but you only have to walk out to the car a couple times to get a tan down here.
So I always forget to ask you guys to subscribe. So I'm throwing that here in the middle. If you're not already subscribed, please click that. It would be really helpful for me to grow this channel. And if you're on a TV, you can use this QR code over here, and that'll help you subscribe. Okay, so we're not done with the business yet, but we're talking about walking outside to the car. So we're going to actually start out at the car, out at the parking lot, actually outside the gate, and drive in and take you all through this beautiful home, this beautiful complex. And then we're going to come back with some final words of advice for business owners. But let's get the tour.
So we're just driving into our complex. It's called Vista Dorada, which means golden view in Spanish.
We live in Centenario, which is as everybody would understand, as a suburb of La Paz, but we have a beautiful view across the bay. We look at downtown La Paz from where we live, so we'll get to see the view as you tour the property. We've had people even describe it at nighttime that it looks like a little diamond necklace across the water. So it is a nice view to be able to see daytime or nighttime.
We have a beautiful pool and common area with a gym on the left-hand side, and the bathrooms are down there as well, so we don't have to run upstairs to use the restroom, which is amazing. And then the property itself is actually kind of small, but we do have a vacant lot next to us. It was actually supposed to be a building with a parking area, but the second building's in a lawsuit, or was in a lawsuit, and then I think the father passed, and now the kids don't know what to do with it. So it's vacant. So right now our view is amazing because nobody's building there.
So we do have an elevator. It is not working, has been working since just before the hurricane. We do have some new protocols to make sure that it doesn't happen again. So we need to run the elevator to the top floor and shut it off the next hurricane season so that it doesn't short out on us. We are on the second floor, so it keeps us up, a little bit better view above everybody else. And
it's a little safer, I would say. I mean, there's only one way in, and that's that giant door that you saw on the tour. And, so, our views are of the water. But it's a little safer, and we have full security.
We have a full-time guard. Daytime we have maintenance and guard. At nighttime we have a guard with a gate at the front, so we don't feel unsafe. And that's a question we get asked quite a bit: is are you safe in Mexico or not? And I feel as safe here as I've ever felt anywhere else in the United States.
Oh, I'm safer than Seattle for sure. I wouldn't go to Seattle at night anymore.
You come in the front door, you're going to be opening up into our laundry area, which seems kind of strange, but it is the smallest area in the house, and it's the least amount of space we need because it's the least amount of time we spend.
So our laundry unit, the washer and dryer, is a combined washer and dryer, which at first we were a little bit nervous about, but an interesting little side note, in Mexico they sold us a washer and dryer that was a gas dryer, and we don't have gas, so we had to return it. And the only one that they had that was going to work for me was this all-in-one unit. Anyway, it was a transition to get it to figure out how it works, but we figured it out and it works great.
So I'm surprised to hear that there's not gas to this building. Just I don't know if that's typical of bigger condo buildings, but in Mexico, gas is kind of like it runs everything. And I noticed actually they have an oven, and we'll get to the kitchen in a second. And the oven is electric, and I was like, oh my God, Kat would love to have an electric oven because it's hard to cook in a gas oven. Ovens aren't necessarily common in Mexico, though. But yeah, let's just continue around through the place here.
So this we would consider quote unquote Bryce's room. He's kind of claimed it as his own. He's our youngest son. He's already been down to visit us a couple of times. This is a queen size bed, and we had the wall unit built in. Same guy that did our cabinets in the kitchen, and we put a little office desk area so we can work. Our computers are there. And every one of our bedrooms, we have a 3-bedroom. This is the first one, but they all have an ensuite. So I really liked that. So when our guests are here, whether it's our kids or not, they don't have to sneak out to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. So it adds that little extra privacy.
Yeah. The second room we have is for our other son. They've claimed these, even though they have not put any money into this. But it has a king-size bed, and it has built-in cabinets on the one end. So we chose king in this room because that room is wider than it is long, versus the other room that is shorter. So we had to, put a different size bed in there. But it also has an ensuite, and it provides nice space for guests to stay when they're here and have some privacy.
And then in our kitchen, I love our kitchen, but as you can see, it's pretty contemporary. So as Brighton takes you on the tour, you'll be able to see where we try to add little pops of Mexico, because we really do want the Mexico feel. And this kitchen that we have, we love it. It feels very much like home, but it's not a true Mexican kitchen. So anyway, we've added a few things and added some color, so hopefully it starts to feel a little bit more like Mexico.
As far as appliances go, what we discovered in Mexico, oven was an option. It wasn't something that comes standard with this place, as was the fridge or the dishwasher. We opted out of a dishwasher. The dishwasher's name is Mark. I'm pretty good at it. I can get it down pretty quickly.
And the dish dryer.
She's the dryer. The refrigerator, ironically, we found that we're picking things for specific reasons. Our particular refrigerator has a 5-liter reservoir in it that I can fill with fresh water bottles, so I don't have to have a separate fresh water stand outside. And that way there it keeps the water cold, and it feeds our ice maker. So we have cold ice or ice for our cocktail mixes.
Drinkable ice.
Drinkable is the key word there.
Because the water down here, of course, you can't drink the water down here. So our master bedroom is amazing. We had that unit that holds the TV. We had that built in. Again, same cabinet maker. He's great. And I love our ensuite because our shower is really big. It has 2 doors. We have our own separate doors to go into our shower. That's amazing. And our closet is bigger than our closet at home. So I couldn't be happier with our bedroom. And then in our living room, it's just a basic living room, but we love donkeys, so you'll probably see our donkey pictures. And it has a great view. And really, when you look at that view, that's what sold us.
That's what we came down here for.
And that view does not quite include all the way to our house. We're just around the bend, but Kat and I, when we were out walking our dogs, we always walk by here, and sometimes they're outside having coffee. So yeah, it's nice. But one of the things also that you can see out there, or at least recently out there, was some boats on the beach because there was a big hurricane. So I want to talk about the hurricane because I know these guys have some stories from dealing with the hurricane that happened this last fall.
So it was Hurricane Norma that came through on October 20th, and it was different from the first hurricane that we lived through down here. The first hurricane was overnight and gone in 6-7 hours. This hurricane hovered over La Paz for 2 full days of horizontal rain coming. We had our sliders closed, but it didn't feel like we had our sliders closed. The wind was pushing the rain so hard into the window, it was filling up the channels of our sliding glass door and not letting it recede out through the seat holes. So our biggest challenge, I think, was
stopping the rain,
slowing down the rain, the water from coming in. And we had towels and we had chop vacs until we lost power, but we had all of that, but it still wasn't slowing it down. And then we came up with stuffing the towels on the tracks on the outside of the window instead of on the
water
inside.
Flowing to the outside instead of just coming into the track. So the idea came up of having sandbags We couldn't get sandbags though because the water on the beach was all the way up to our seawall. So we had no beach to go even gather sand for sandbags. And besides that, you had to fight between the wind, the rain, and the sailboat that came floating by and landed right in front of our condo. It was there for several weeks until they were able to get it removed. But the sandbags was going to be our next venture in making sure that we're protected for the hurricane season. We were one of only a few people here during the hurricane, so we had access to a couple of the other units, and they asked us to help them out. So we were running back and forth with my shop vac, and then when the power went out, I ran through with my generator. I actually burned that generator up. It is no longer functioning, but we had to shop back up and continually for
it was a lot. It was a lot of squeezing towels, wringing out towels, and trying to mitigate the rain. And I remember the final morning when we came in and we had in their place, the water was dripping through the ceiling. We had buckets, and we took our camera and we were videoing for them, and we showed them in the bucket, and there was only just a little bit of water. And like, we stopped.
It's finally stopped.
It's over. So that was a huge relief. But as a thank you to us doing that, our neighbor is an artist, and she painted us the most amazing painting. It's of a boat that we see frequently out in the bay, and it's covered with pelicans. And so she painted that for us, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah, strangely, with this hurricane, we didn't have much of a problem at our house, and our caretaker just took care of it and never really told us what happened. But our roof survived, and I think maybe because of the way our roof is, the palm fronds really hang down, so it's harder for that horizontal wind to get into our place. The only thing we had was the solar panels blew off our pool. And actually, is your pool heated down there?
Nope.
Okay, yes. Very common for pools not to be heated here in La Paz in the winter. They're mainly used in the summer to fight off the heat. But our pool is heatable, and actually those solar panels are back on with very minor leaks, so we're able to use them again. But let's get back to Mark and Edna and back to where I promised earlier, which was going to be their advice for new or business owners moving down here, or just folks moving down here in general. And I almost forgot to ask them the cost and the fees and stuff like that. So let's get that really quick.
3 years ago, they were asking $300,000 for our unit, and the place that we compared in San Jose was $310. So the place was virtually the same, but just less than half the square footage in San Jose. That's why it made more sense for us to be here, and the Malacon and everything else. But in our HOA fees, which cover our garbage, our water, our maintenance, our common area, like the pool grounds, all of that, it's only 5,200 pesos a month. So what does that work out to be in US? It's about
$250, I guess, approximately. Yeah.
And back to where I promised earlier, which was going to be their advice for new or business owners moving down here, or just folks moving down here in general. And as we were chit-chatting here, we came up with a lot. So let's hear multiple pieces of advice.
So advice that I would give anybody that has a business and has the ability to work remotely is be flexible. Emergencies do happen. I actually had to make an emergency trip back up to the States back in October. So it's something that you need to be able to do. So you have to have the flexibility, but you have to give your staff the support, management support, the employees the support. They all think you're on vacation, but we're working. So you make it very clear that you're available to them, so that they don't feel like, oh yeah, I'm going to take away from your time away. This is just a home that we live in when we're not in the States. It's not a vacation necessarily, as in everybody's eyes it is, but not ours.
Yeah, the big difference is that we get to, when we do close the laptops and say we're done for the day, we get to go play, and the sun is still out, because in Seattle that doesn't happen very often. My other big piece of advice, I would say, is if you really want it to be just like home, Mexico might not be the place for you. Things don't always happen. We call it Mexico time. They don't happen like that. Like, we can't call a contractor and expect them to show up exactly when they say they're going to show up. For example, when we put in our cabinets in our bay window, the contractor said 11. He'd be here at 11. I asked him specifically, mañana, a qué hora? And he said 11. And I said, perfecto. And he came at 3. And so we waited all day, but he did come. And so that's an amazing thing. It's just like every time we get an Amazon package, we're like, whoa, it worked. But the other thing is, another example I could give you would be, we had a piece of granite that was for another unit in our garage, and we asked for it to be moved. it wasn't taking up a lot of space, but enough where it was making it a little tight. And it took 2 years before that piece of granite was moved. Again, Mexico time. Just got to be patient.
You have to embrace it. You embrace Mexico life, embrace the people, the culture, and
And
just
don't try to make Mexico.
yeah, don't make Mexico your home in the States or Canada. Make Mexico Mexico.
I love how Edna talked about the Amazon packages and celebrating when things go right. Actually, I just saw on Facebook today, one of the Gringo Facebook groups, that someone got mail from the United States. And so making it a celebration when things go as expected, instead of getting angry or upset when things don't go as expected, because often in Mexico, things don't go as expected. And that's just part of it. And if that's not something that you can, that works for your lifestyle, maybe it's not the place. And also, if you love the lifestyle of going to the all-inclusives in Cabo or something like that, and you're like, oh, I want to do Mexico, it's very, very different. That is, they've kind of made it, they've Americanized it, or they've Canadianized it just for travelers. So the real Mexico is Mexican. And if you are not willing to become Mexican as much as you can, then yeah, maybe choose Florida.
So I would just say, when you're here, embrace the Mexican lifestyle, because if you're in San Jose or Cabo, that's vacation, but here it's life.
And it can be a really, really amazing life. We've got the ocean. I know Mark's gone fishing a number of times, right? Yep. And we go play pickleball all the time. We see donkeys going down the beach, things like that. It's just, Mexico is magical, but it's different from what you are used to in the US and Canada. So if that's what you're looking for, come on down. I've got more videos from people who have already done it, so you can get more inspiration and see different ways that people have made moving to Mexico possible, ideally before you turn that magical age of 65 and retire. Come on down a little sooner. Hasta luego.